I'm starting the recording. This is the lecture for Design 300. Oh, let me get back up there. Um, there we go. It's the lecture for Design 300. It's Thursday the 2nd. And our main topic again today is property line drawings and utility drawings. We talked a little bit on Tuesday about what utilities are and where you can find information about them and how to do the readings. And so now we'll talk about drawings that present that information. So there will be somebody with knowledge helping with the design, and that knowledge has to get imparted into a design document, which is often a drawing, so that the people that actually have to make it, the contractors, the construction side, knows what to do, so that you have number one, public safety, and number two, public safety, and number three, public safety. And after that, you get to start thinking about cost and aesthetics and time frames and things like that. Number one, two, and three are all public safety, especially when it comes to utilities. But property line drawings are also pretty important too. So that's what we're going to do. Let's come back up here and take a look at all the week 2 stuff. We are going to work today. I'm going to show you how to work with this Revit, which is sort of like, it's the big dog program out there in construction because it's got components for everybody. And it can integrate with just about every other program too. AutoCAD, Civil 3D, Chief Architect, Inventor. They can all get imports. Even drone data can go right into Revit. So it's good to just start seeing that. If you're looking at materials of construction and design, even interior design, Revit is really big for interior design right now, and landscaping. So I'll show you how to work with that. There is a YouTube playlist. I'm putting stuff on it. We've gone through this kind of stuff and the reading list. So now I want to talk just very briefly about the two drawings and what they mean and why they're there and how they get used. And then I'll actually go and show you how to use this Revit file. So, excuse me. Our first drawing is a very simple site work property line drawing that identifies the property. This little symbol here, sometimes it shows up and sometimes it doesn't. That's your project 00, where all the dimensions, all the surveys, everything that goes on with this site can get measured off of it. The other thing that you'll see is that the property lines have a certain look. They're usually some sort of dash or dash dot line, or these are called phantom lines. But they're a broken line of some sort, and they pretty much identify the property. They are almost always these days drawn to scale, and so you'll see the scale here. So if this was printed out on a piece of paper properly, to the right size piece of paper, and I had a scale, I could measure 1 inch on here and know that in reality it was 20 feet. So 1 inch on my piece of paper is 20 feet in the real world. Now that's not so commonly needed anymore because these days everybody has access to your actual file and you can just click and get it. But in addition to that, we write down the information on each property line so that you know what it is. And this is the direction of the line. And this says face north. And then turn 90 degrees to the east and go 63.5 feet. It's just like pirates, right? From where you are, line up north, then turn 3 degrees, 5 minutes to the west, and march along 115 feet. So those are always put on here too. This I just put on here because I want students to do their own work and not take snips of mine. So what else usually goes on one of these? And this is really just sort of like, it's the starting point. And most drawing packages have this. And it's just so that everybody goes, yeah, I'm at the right spot. There's very, very little information on this one. But usually if there's a main street, the name of the street with the address goes wherever it goes. And so I'm saying that the street name goes here. And then often you'll get what's called a property schedule, because these can be exported very quickly and easily off to other programs and copied for people to do. Sorry, my dog is barking like crazy. I hope you can't hear it. They'll do calculations. Certain things that are not on here, that are usually on here, is the lot area, how many square feet or acres it is, and the perimeter. Those two numbers are used tons in planning calculations. If you know the area, the building code tells you how big your building pad can be and how much water you can use and how much electricity you can use. And so the planners, as you get going with design, always want to know the area, and then it'll tell you how much permeable area, which is non-concrete, and how much unpermeable area, that's concrete, you can have, and how many parking places you can have, and how many occupants, and tons of stuff come off of that, but we left it off of our drawing. So that's a property line drawing. The other drawing that we're interested in is a very simple utility plan. And this one is existing. So here's the same property. You'll see that on this one, there's some funny lines. Those are topo lines, and they're not labeled on this one, but they would tell you where the high points are and the low points are. Okay. And then you'll see another thing, and usually this is called out as building pad, and there's an elevation. But I, again, have simplified it for you guys so that you can say, okay, this is existing utilities. So somehow from the street over here, there are connections to the public or private utilities that you need to put your own pipes in, underground usually, to get that utility to the building. And these are very common abbreviations. CWS would be cold water supply. How do you get water to your building, and then usually from the building to the landscape? How do you get gas? Almost every building has a gas connection, even if it's not used. And that would be, natural gas. And almost every building has some sort of an electrical connection to it. There's often meters associated with these because none of your utilities are free. And nowadays, you get charged two things. Your cold water supply charge is usually based on some fixed fee for the size of your lot, and then a variable fee for what flows through your meter. So these are all things. So your lot has a lot to do with the material resources that you're going to use. And then you've got pipe sizes and pipe materials and how far underground they are, and will they rust or will they collapse or will trees get into them. So this is a super starting point that somebody would go, oh, I get it. There are some connections here for you to work with. And this is about the route where they're going to go. And this is important. The architect needs to know this. Rarely would the architect then put a driveway right over here, because the land planner has figured out that that's kind of where the utilities are. Okay, and you wouldn't want to put it under the sanitary drain either, over the sanitary drain. Those are all things that are buried, and someday you're going to have to dig them up. And so it's nice to have those where you can dig, and a driveway is not one of those spots. So this would tell you that as the architect is laying out what building would go here, they would lay out the driveway either to be here or to be here. We don't know if the garage is included on this, or if they need to build one out here. But these types of drawings are starting points, and they're for you to start thinking about the materials that get used. And materials are not always fixed things on the lot. Water is one of the materials of design. Okay, a big part of design is, how do I keep water out of a building? And another part is, how do I get drinking water into and through the building? Natural gas into and through the building, electrical into and through, and sanitary drain, which is sewage. How do I get that out? So those are just some very simple starting drawings, and drawings like this do show up in most land planning submittal packages. And even although they would have a little bit more information often on them, you would find these types of drawings on any basic construction job packet. Okay, and then more information, right? As the designers start asking questions and doing their design, they start adding more things into the drawings. But these are two very, very straightforward and simple drawings. And you can see that once you've done all your reading, and remember, those were previews, headings and bold letters, things like that, you're going to want to replace this with your own work. And this, my link, I'm not positive my link. Yeah, my link there wasn't working very well. I don't know what was up with that link. I had to fix it. It was asking for something really weird there. And so I fixed the link over here, and I'll go fix it on the other one. Where did I fix the link? Here's the link. And now you can get to it and download it. Okay, so you're going to replace that with your own fixed drawing that looks kind of like this. Okay? So that's really all I want to tell you about these drawings right now. Welcome in. Good to have you with us. Just going over a few things. And I am recording, so you will be able to watch back to see anything that you feel that you missed. Okay, so that's what the drawings are about, and they're first ones. And we're going to do more drawings next week on very similar stuff. So now let me go ahead and show you how to do it. So you want to get this Revit file and you want to work with it, but I'm going to have to show you how to do that. So let's go right to our VMware. If you've got this, you can get this program all on your own. You can get Revit. Sometimes they give you a little bit of a hassle to see if you're really a student. There's tons of fake student accounts out there right now. People trying to fraudulently get financial aid and things like that. And so Autodesk and some of these people have started cracking down and asking for verification. And so if you're trying to get Autodesk and they're asking for a letter, just let me know and I'll write you one. But here we go. So I went to here, and I'm going to do this one, which is the web browser. You can put it on your computer and have it installed in your computer. There are a few little advantages, but I find this one works, and it works wherever I am. So I'm going to go to my HTML access and do my W number and my login. It's going to take all of these are all special setups that have the programs that you need. And ours is under Design and Engineering Technology. So you'll click on that one. It'll take you there. It takes a little while, and I'm going to go through the whole setup so that you can see every time you get on, it does take a little bit of time to get set up. That's the penalty we pay for having it for free and on an internet access. So there's a few things to do before I even open up Revit. The first one to do, and you may wish to do it, I always, just as a matter of choice, start up Adobe because it makes you log in. That way, if I need to read an Adobe or anything like that, I've got it. So this is my best practice. Do this right away. And for you, you would, of course, use your W number at apps.losrios.edu here. But since I'm faculty, I have to use my faculty number. And then it'll take you to our good old single sign-on, which you guys are hopefully getting pretty used to using. And so now I've got access to any Adobe product that's on this computer. And of course, I just opened up Acrobat Pro, but there's Photoshop and Illustrator and InDesign and Premiere Pro. Tons of them are on here. Look at all these Adobe products that you have access to. That is it's incredible. So that's really cool. The next thing I want to do is go ahead and open up my web browser. I choose to use Chrome. And it goes again to your single sign-on so that you can be in your Google Drive. And I usually start it up. So I'm in my Google Drive now, and I'll look for my Design 3. I've got so much stuff in here. Here it is. And I can go to... where is it? Resource files. I can even make a my work. I'll just put it skill development. No. Oh, I have to show you how to do that too today. I'm glad I clicked on that. I'll just stick it in here for right now. And then the other thing, of course, is I want to get to my calendar so that I can download stuff, right? This is how I get to it. And so lo and behold, now I can get to my Revit file. And there it is. So I know that's a lot of work, but it's not too bad, and I can download it. It's just sort of the price we pay. It's almost like having commercials on your YouTube, right? It's the price we pay for free. So now I've got it on my desktop. That's kind of cool. The last thing I might want to do is put it somewhere safe, because if I put it on my desktop, it gets erased as soon as I log out. So I'm going to go to my computer and I'll see my W number is there. Your W number will be there. And you can go put that in there. You can see I've got all sorts of stuff. I'm always doing work in here. This is where I work. So I'll put it in a new folder for my... So there we go. We've got it. It's ready. It's ready to go. And I gave you that because I've set it up. Revit is a hard program. And it's hard to learn Revit until you know construction. But it's also hard to learn construction if you don't know Revit. So I kind of go in between the two and I give you Revit files that will help you learn and understand construction that's already built. So now I have to open up Revit. Here it is, and we're using on this bank of computers Revit 2022. You should know that Revit is not backward compatible. So if I save a file in Revit 2022, I cannot open it in a previous version of Revit. So just know that as you're working, if you've got Revit on your computer at home and it's 2021 or 2020, either update your version, there are really no changes, or always use that version. So there we go. I've opened up. I'm here. I don't need help. I can click that. And I get to my start screen, and I'm going to open what's called a model. What I gave you was a model. Click. And I'll go find my model. That's the wrong folder. There it is, right there. So if I can click on that, I will open that model. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about this model. It's going to upgrade. So that was an older version. I did happen to save this one in an older version for those of you who do have 2021. Most of my work is going to be on 2022. Now, when it opens up, it's just somewhere. And I see a sheet, and that's the design for this thing. Okay, but over on the left, you see properties and you see project browser. Those two are real critical little boxes to have up. So I need to show you what happens if one goes away. It's not there anymore. And you can't do a lot of work. So you have to go to View, User Interface, and that was my project browser, and it's back. And your project browser shows you all the views of that model that you've made. So these are flat top-down views of the model. And you can see there's one of the ones we're working with. Here's a perspective view. Here's a post-construction view. And here's just some 3D view that's having a hard time coming up. Don't know why. There it is. And that one's a view that's sort of been rendered. So that's kind of cool. Other things that you, and here's some elevation views if you want to look at elevations, but those don't mean anything to you. There's a schedule, and then there's sheets. And sheets are pieces of paper on which you can place views and schedules and things like that. And I've done a markup here. So the first thing you're going to do is go to Sheet C100, Site Work, C100 Site Work, and see what the markup is. The markup says I need a street name, I need a property table, I need to replace this. Well, that's cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my original view, my property lines, and I'm going to put the street name in there. Let me get rid of my notes. And I just click on it and hit escape. And I'm going to go back to that view. Let me go find that. Property lines. And just, there we go. It's right there. So now I'm holding the mouse wheel down to make it move so I can see it. I can move the mouse wheel forward or the mouse wheel back. That's all cool. So I'll move it down. And then I need to put in what's called an annotation. So I look along my top bar until I find annotate. This is a pretty complex program, isn't it? But to do what we're going to do is not too bad. And there's all sorts of things I can do, but I'm going to put in a piece of text. And this tells me how big my text is and everything, but I'm just going to click, and I don't know, I'll call this College Oak Drive. I don't care what name you pick. Now, I should have made them all capital. You normally get these in, they're normally all capitals. And if you need to move it, you can just click on this little move button, kind of get it into a new spot. There we go. Now I'm going to show you the coolest thing. I did that in my view, and on my piece of paper, it shows up. That's the beauty of Revit. Everywhere where I do something on a view, it shows up appropriately later on. So that was kind of cool. I got that one. Now it says add property line table. Remember, you saw that. So I'm going to get rid of my notes. And I'm going to find my property line table. Revit calls that a schedule. So I'm going to find that schedule. And I'm going to hold my mouse left button down and drag it over and let go. When I let go, I can move it around until I click it into place. Click, and it's in place. I'm going to move my mouse wheel forward, roll forward to zoom in, roll back. That is so cool. Got it. If I want this to look a little better because it's clunky, which you don't care about really, is you can just click on this little arrow and move it over, and now it's all spread out better. And my last thing to do, I'm going to hold my mouse wheel down and move it up. I'm going to move my mouse wheel forward. I'm going to replace this owner with my name. So I like that, and click. And if anything goes wrong, Control Z, that's your back button, or your back button up here. I'm a Control Z person. I do Control Z more than any other command. Now, if I double click on owner, I can type in my name. And then I just click somewhere, anywhere. Click. Now, the cool thing is, the way Revit is set up, if I put it on one sheet, it shows up on every sheet. Isn't that cool? So here I go. Double click on this, again, to get back to it. I'm going to move my mouse wheel back. I'm going to pan it. There we go. And now I've got it. I'm ready. Just click outside of it. And all I need to do now is take a snip. Now remember, when I'm in VMware, I get one toolbar down below, which is my host computer, and this is the toolbar for my VMware. So I need the snip from that one. Snip, new, and I can make sure my mode is rectangular. And I'm just going to hold my mouse wheel down. Now I've got a snip, and I can save that to put into my portfolio. This PC, here we go, 300, utility drawing, and this is my C.100, complete, RS, and I can even put a date if I want. Cool. I've just done the first part of that Revit stuff, and it took me probably 15 minutes with all my discussion. I'm expecting that to take you maybe half an hour to 45 minutes. The next one should be a little bit quicker. That's my, I think it's C103. That's my utility plan, right? Existing utilities, yep. So it says add a marker and draw some lines. So this is existing utilities. You come back up there again. Here's the drawing for existing utilities. And again, it's going to be text. And I don't care how well you do this. Doesn't have to look that great. I'm going to use this kind of a leader. I'm just going to click, CWS. Click, click, click. What was the next one? Gas. Click, 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 elect. There. Oh, and then one over here for sanitary drain. And, you know, it just has to kind of look close. There's nothing really special about it. So I'm making big progress already. This is really cool. If I need to move one of these, I can click on it and I can get it to move a little bit lower. Click, move, hold down, click, click, move, hold down, click. Now I have to draw a line. That's still in my annotate bar. That was text. Here's a detail line. Click. And I have to pick what kind of line. Now look, if you just draw a line, that's fine. I don't really care. Center line. Click. Let go. Move your mouse. Click. Click. Escape. Left click. Move your mouse. Click. Click. Escape. Click. Move the mouse. And see, it doesn't look exactly the same, but close enough. Click, click. I just want something. Click. There we go. Now let's go back and see how it looks. Well, that should have put that on there. Which one did I just end up on? Where did I put that? Oh, no. I put it on my drainage one. Well, you guys hopefully will do better than that. Why did I put that? Oh, I put it on drainage instead of utilities. I should have put it on utilities. Watch this. This is going to be so cool. I'm going to take that one. Hopefully you'll do it right to begin with. Nah, I'm just going to leave that. Just take a snip of this one. We'll get back to that other one later. I'm not too... If you get it wrong, I just want something kind of sort of. There we go. That's perfectly fine. So if you make a mistake, don't worry about it if you get it on the wrong one. I don't want you to spend a lot of time on that. So this is going to be actually my C103. If you get it on the wrong one, don't worry. So there, that's how to do it. And then you'll just put those on here. Now, important that from your VMware, you get it into your Google Drive because those snips don't talk outside of your VMware. So I'm going to just be sure to put those snips up in here. And I would also put my new copy up in here. Okay? So just be careful as you go along. Make sure that you get your work onto the Google Drive so that you have access to it and you can, and so that you can work with it. Okay. So that's how to do that. Do you guys have any questions really quick on that? Okay, well, since I'm in here, I might as well keep working along in this drive. So let me look. There's another thing to do, which is your building pad calc. So I just showed you how to do your file for this, and I'll get those updated. I only got it updated in the one spot, so let me get those fixed for you. But let me show you your building pad calcs. Make a copy. This is your copy now. Here's actually a video demonstration of how to do that. But a building pad is a specific area of dirt, gravel, or concrete, or some mixture that a building is going to be built on. And the building pad has geotechnical properties that have been set. So the architect or the civil engineer will say, I need a certain structural strength of the dirt. Believe it or not, dirt has a certain compressive strength. And you need to do something to the dirt in this area to make it just right. And that's usually called compaction, which we're going to talk about next week. Okay. But it's really important to know the volume of that building pad. And it's usually given by, if it's rectangular, a north dimension and an east dimension, and how deep your concrete is a certain depth, or the gravel and sand and colloid mix are a certain depth, or the dirt has been disked and compacted to a certain depth with concrete over the top. It's really important to know those volumes and areas. So you need to know how to calculate them. So this is a very, very straightforward little calculator. And you can see here, I've given you a chart of north dimensions, 222, 125, 216. So this first pad is 222 in the north, 167 in the east, and it's got a top elevation of 8 feet and a bottom elevation, a top elevation of 11 and a bottom elevation of 8. That's how Revit works too. Okay? Top and bottom elevations. So it's really 11 minus 8, it's really 3 feet deep, right? Top elevation minus bottom elevation. So if I want to find the area of a rectangle, I go back to my arithmetic days. It's not even math days, it's arithmetic days. And I know to find the area, it's side times side. That's a rectangle. And this is really cool. So I can either use a calculator and I can type in, it's 222 times 167, 37074. 37074. So I can do that, but I'd have to do that every single time. The other thing I can do is use what's called an equation, where I type in equals sign right there, equals, and I just click. I want my north dim. I just clicked in the box, and I do times, which is the asterisk star, times whatever is in that box. And then what's really cool, I can just hold this little button down here and drag it down, and it just does it over and over. Is that a lot faster than calculating it every single time? Okay, now, there's a few ways to do my next one, but I know that volume is area times depth. I remember that from my arithmetic days. Area times depth. And I know my depth is 3. For this one. Ooh, but this one is 4. 3, 5, 1, 5. So I have to figure out how to do this. Okay, well, one way I can do it is right over here. I can make myself a new column called depth. And I can say this depth equals my start elevation minus my end elevation. That's kind of cool. And that's what it was, right? 11 minus 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. Let's see what happens. Oh, that is so cool. This is why we like spreadsheets. So what's my volume? It equals, I could get my calculator out. It equals 37,074 times 3. 111,222. Or I could come over here and I could say equals my area, whatever is in that box, times, which is the asterisk, what's ever in this box. And then I can just run it down. So this one should take you very little time. And that's cool. So now I've got my set of calculations for the building pads. And if you ever work on a development where there's, you're putting in 5 properties, 10 properties, 20 properties, this is just the first thing that you do. And then you start calculating, allowed patios and minimum and maximum amount of planted area and minimum and maximum amount of shade. And from this pad area, you calculate how much electricity you're going to have to bring to this pad because they have formulas for that, and how much water and how much drain. So this little calculation that you do right here is super, super critical to any material resource problem. And that's why I'm having you do it. Okay? So now you know how to do it. And you don't have to take a snip of the whole thing. You don't want to. You can just take a snip of part of it and just show that you did it. Okay? Show what you did. There's one other thing on here is these numbers are hard to read because they're just big numbers. So I can go to my format for the number and just say, make it a number. And here's a number with a comma in it. But now I have too many decimal places. So now I have to come up and reduce. That's an easier number to see. Okay, so there we go. So that's really what I wanted to get across to you this week. That you've got drawings that impart information that will be used by designers later on. And we're really starting from the bottom up. We're starting with dirt. And that's where material resources work, because that's where you're building connects to the ground, is with the dirt. So we're learning about dirt and how to draw things about dirt and calculate dirt and figure out what goes in the dirt. So this week and next week is about dirt, soil, things like that. And we're just talking about common terms and common things that you'll know about as we go up. So you can imagine the last thing we'll talk about is the roof, because we're really truly going from the bottom up. Okay, so what did we go over today? We went over making some basic drawings about property lines. That's super important to know on any type of construction project, and actually starts to give you material resource information. So that's why we start with property lines. Then we go to utilities. And again, utilities are very critical to what's going to happen in this building and the design. And those are usually underground and in the dirt, so we have to know about those. And then we go to wherever it just was. Then we go to some calculations of something called a building pad, which is where a certain portion of the property, in this case, it's this thing right here, that's a building pad, gets treated so that it has the right properties. And you're going to find out about that more next week when we talk about compaction and some concrete and building pads and things like that. Okay? So there we go. And then, of course, you got a ton of information from the playlist about, demolition. What happens if there's something already on the site? If there's nothing on the site, how do you prepare it so you can start working? What does it mean for cut and fill? And you should know that on anything except the most small types of project, the amount of cut and fill is really critical to your stormwater pollution plans and EPA and your environmental impact and things like that, and cost. Next week, we're really going to start talking about compaction, but it's kind of complex, so I want you to think about it now. And then you already started thinking about some of the materials that go underground and how they get underground. And here's your video on the building pads. And this is more, it's like the stuff that goes underground is pretty amazing. Most of it is concrete, cast iron, stainless steel, ABS, things that are pretty corrosion resistant because it's really difficult and expensive to get back underground again to fix something. And if somebody happens to have put something over the top of where you need to go, it gets really hard. Are any of you that are online now landscapers? I guess not. Landscapers really need to read these because it's a bummer when you plant a tree right on top of those. First of all, it destroys them, and then you have to destroy the tree to fix them. So landscapers really, really need to know about this as well as everybody else. Okay, so that's what I wanted to go over. Are there any questions right off the bat?
So for our submittal template, how do we make the link for the Google Drive files?
Okay, so how do you make your link? That's a good question. I'll go over that right now. So you'll see that, let me get back into my VMware and do it there. Let me get into, here we go. Let me open it up in my VMware to get it a little bit easier to show you. Oh no, I can show it to you right up here. Okay, so here's my copy, and here's my work as an example. Okay, so your work should be in your Google Drive somewhere. Okay, and so in my case, I've got it right here, but let me do it on my VMware. It'll be easier to show you. Here we are. Here we are. And I'm going to move this down a little bit and bring this back. Okay, so here was my utility drawing work that I did, and in it I have my completed work. Okay, so I'm going to put that in my Google Drive. And so now I've got a folder with my utility drawing work. I can even rename it. When I click on it, I get this share button. So I'm just going to click and I'm going to go to the share button and I'll make sure that it says anyone with the link can view. And then I'll copy that link. Then when I go to my submittal, I'll put that right here. So see how I've highlighted it? And then I highlighted the information. When you do that, this little link button comes up. Click. Control V, that's what I use. Oh, but it didn't get me the right one. Let me go back and get that. Let me make sure I'm in my VMware one. Here we go. Copy the link. Sometimes when you're in VMware, it gets a little bit tough. There it goes. And that's my sharing. And then I can make that green if I want to. I didn't really tell you to, but you can go ahead and make that green to let me know that, yeah, I got that done. Okay? Does that explain how to do that? Close enough?
Yes, thank you.
Cool. You are not the only one with that question. I will guarantee you that. Cool. So thank you for asking. Okay, there we go. Then I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.